this morning I've been to the gym and I've already listened to an hour's worth of an audiobook for the day. It's 7:20 and I'm already ahead. Let's have it.
And we've not fully prepared for this podcast.
How is my microphone first? Make America great again. What about now?
I think that's the curse of being an entrepreneur in property.
Boom. Mic drop. That's exactly the plan.
Anything with the fucking councils, always feel like I'm banging my head against a brick wall.
What about now?
And we've got to do Jack's quiz, so we're definitely going to have time today.
Whoa.
But fuck it, that's what today's episode's going to be.
I'm going to throw this thing. What about now?
Ground up sound. Ooh, yeah. Real estate deals. We lay them down. Let's get those deals. Deals. Deals making money, baby.
Dorian sound like he was on twice speed then. All of us speaking so quick. I thought, fucking hell, how do I slow this thing down?
Let's have it.
Let's have it.
Let's have it, son.
What audiobook was you listening to?
Oh, that one I put in the group yesterday, which I started listening to it. I put it on ages ago, and then I come back to How to Own the World by Andrew Craig. And it's the more you listen to it, the more frustrated you get with the system we've already talked about. But how, we talked a little bit about actually high-ranking officials blatantly doing things not in the interest of wider society. And then I obviously expressed my concern in the last episode that I don't condone it, but we're so used to everybody doing that from a high political point of view that it's not surprising. This book reaffirms that, because actually when you listen to it and all of the things the government do, they deceive us every single day on everything. Government fiscal policy, the real intentions of the actual policies, inflation, and they actually strip a lot of wealth from middle class people and pensioners, and none of that gets. They do it in a complicated way that makes it look like they're helping by injecting 100 billion surplus into the economy. But what that really does is fucks everyone else up.
Yeah,
absolutely, mate.
They're there to fuck us, mate.
But it's not actually the government; it's the government being ruled by the establishment. So it gets even more deeper when you look into it. It's just the politicians are the puppeteers that have to go and communicate with us near minions.
Yeah, I recommend any listener though read that book, because it gives practical tips on how to try to play the game, so to speak, to your advantage and get wealthy in kind of any scenarios you're in, from a wealth point of view, job point of view. So sets out the rules that are at play, that have been at play, and there's nothing we can do about that really. We just got to know how to take advantage of that game ourselves.
Yeah, mate.
I actually think that's quite a good topic. To maybe talk about, which is book smart, life smart, and business smart. The three guys that I went to that I toured the States with. One was a trader, stockbroker, and now runs his own hedge fund. The other he's definitely the lowest IQ. Definitely has some sort of I don't know.
This is on record now, mind, Jack.
Are we recording? We started, are we?
It's just on record now.
Yeah, fuck it, we started.
One of them's definitely got ADHD, and then the other one was probably the smartest out of all four of us. But he was book smart, and he wanted to be a journalist, and he was struggling to get traction in his career. And and I was like, at the end of the day, you need to take a step back from being book smart and just win at life. Don't win at journalism, win at life. Because you could be the best journalist or the worst journalist, but one of you is going to get, can be super wealthy, obviously passion and money are two different things. But anyway, coincidentally, the guy that was the probably the slower one of the group is absolutely killing it, and that's because he's smart on life. And he's lazy, so he creates stuff to save him time, effort. Yeah. Problems, and he's super switched on with like tech. So I always said he's going to kill it, and everyone's like, I don't know. But anyway, because
Yeah, it's funny that they say like some of the best entrepreneurs are lazy, and being lazy doesn't mean that you're not hard working. It just means that when you look at the problem at hand, you want to get the quick. You just want to find the fastest solution there. Being lazy, really. And when I was like growing up, and I was labouring inside, I always used to, we're lugging debris from 3 stories down to a skip outside in the garden, and I'm just looking out the window thinking, I could throw this brick into that skip right now, So, and I would do stuff like that and get in so much trouble. I'm thinking, why don't you just get a chute and just chuck it all down? What have I got to go up and down 50 times for? This makes no sense. But yeah.
making a man out of you. That's what we're doing, Dorian.
Yeah, probably.
Bill Gates said for his execs, he always tries to hire someone. He says hiring lazy people can be the best thing, a smart lazy person, because they're the best at delegating and building the best team
100%.
to get shit done. As Bill
Yeah,
Gates said that.
100%.
I mean, aren't all of like the Google employees like smart, lazy people, like no shoes, pizzas all the time, they're coding away.
Mate, I've got a good friend who lives in Mountain View, and yeah, he's exactly that. He's a lovely guy, but fuck me, they'll leave everything 90% of the time and then just smash it for the last 10%. It's like, yeah, it's fine, we can get on with that, and then boom,
I'm
they'll
doing
just
homework.
work all the way through the night and bang, it's done. They've
Yeah.
got little sleep pods everywhere. It's unbelievable. They're the Google office, free food and drink the whole time. They just don't want you to leave. You're just part of the culture, part of the
Yeah.
life.
That's what happens when you're swimming in cash, my friend.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't happen like that in the
Unlimited
construction
funds.
sector.
Joe, let me do an intro just whilst we wait for D.
we actually started. We are recording.
Yeah,
aren't we, now?
yeah. Fuck it. This is a bit of an ad lib podcast anyway. So anyway, viewers at home, welcome back. Episode 8. Here we are, and we've not fully prepared for this podcast. Got 2 questions, and then we're just going to ad lib the rest. And we've got to do Jack's quiz, so we're definitely going to have time today. But we're going to chat and just talk about a whole load of things, which, as you've seen from the first 15 minutes of this podcast, is very easy for us to do. We just run on stupid tangents. But fuck it, that's what today's episode is going to be. And let us know in the comments if you think it's a good way for us to do some of these podcasts. But yeah, anyway, 4 of us, property developers based in the UK, we get together every week and talk shop. Release the podcasts at 5:30 a.m. every Thursday on YouTube and Spotify. Drop us a like, a comment, subscribe. Big love, and enjoy the episode. So, should we start with the 2 questions and then just let it run from there?
Sounds good.
Or should we start with the quiz? Should we just make sure we get the quiz done?
I quite like the fact that this quiz might never get done. So let's do
All right, let's do the questions.
I mean, we
then.
can't talk about 2 questions for an hour and a half. We've got something
Oh, no,
wrong
we
with us
could.
if we do that.
No, we definitely can. Here we go. Let's give it a try. Challenge accepted. So, first question from A4D_05. What would you say is the hardest part of your job, or least enjoyable part? I think there's 2. I think there's 2. That's 2 different answers. Yeah, but they're both good. So let's go. Hardest part of your job, and then the least enjoyable part of your job. Starting with Jack.
The hardest part of my job, and Dorian's already said it, is managing the cash flow. You can have a low risk, high profit business, but if the cash flow isn't there, you can't access the low risk profits. You need to get from A to B. So running a development business, and I know these guys in construction too, because we don't have construction in house, is super challenging. To put it in perspective, we deliver 5 developments a year. And our project manager is not getting paid. Our project managers get paid every month, and everyone on our team's getting paid every month. But we might not actually realise the margin or the profits in that scheme for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, depending on the complexity and the size of the scheme. So super difficult to cash flow a development business. So that's definitely the toughest part of the role. And then least enjoyable is probably just like repetitive admin, like filling out forms, document signing forms. And that's why I have a PA and 2 other admin people that help me. Most enjoy it flipping that. Most enjoyable, because I think that's a good idea to sort of share, is deals, like deal focus, negotiating, closing deals, structuring deals, negotiating deals. All of that is definitely where I thrive and enjoy, and sort of come into my own.
Beautiful. Stu, what are you saying, mate? So there's 3 there then. So most challenging or hardest, least enjoyable, most enjoyable.
Yeah, I sort of love all parts of it really, and the bits I didn't enjoy, I've sort of cut out. Being a general builder, I didn't enjoy because there's just too many holes to plug. It's just too many things to manage, and there's just too many things that could go wrong. So focusing on a niche, I sort of done that sort of 12 years ago, and I still enjoy and love what we do there. Managing people is the biggest challenge. I think whether it's contractors, third-party consultants, staff members, it's a constant tweak and change and energy drainer, and also or energy charges. You bring the right people in, they do the job, it gets easier. But that's something that never goes away. Building systems as well, I think, can be thought of as laborious and boring and a draining task to do until you get on top of it and actually have to make it fun, because without business, without systems, you are just going to fall apart, whether you're small now and as you grow and you 10x, that crack, that tiny hairline crack will become a cavern, and you'll fall into it. So that's a challenging part. It could be looked on as boring, but you've got to change your mindset to make it fun. I think everything in business, there is nothing that's effectively boring. You just got to dig deep and see the urgency of it. The bit I enjoy the most, I think, like Jack said, is from the property side, is the deals. And there's no better drug in this world than someone ringing up, say they want to go ahead, or they put their faith in you, or an offer that's been accepted. It's amazing when you get a deal, you instantly get this fantastic feeling of wow, and then you think instantly the doubt comes in. Shit, why have I won it? Have I overpriced it? Have I missed something? So you have this little spike of adrenaline, or whatever it's called, dopamine, and then bang, you sort of then come into the realism of okay, now we've got to deliver it. So that's something you need to manage. But yeah, that is the biggest drug, I would say, is having someone put their faith in you and want to proceed, and then that's it. Now you got to deliver. But yeah, I mean, I love all parts of business, to be honest. I wouldn't do it if I didn't.
Good, mate. Fucking good. Wait, did you answer the most? Yeah, you did say the most enjoyable part, didn't you? All right, Dorian, what would you say to those 3 points?
How is my microphone first?
Sounds awful. Awful.
I'm going to throw this thing. What about now? Right, I'll have to just try and stay. I don't know why it's got so sensitive, because the other ones I was able to move around, speak right into it, and it would kind of adjust itself. So that's frustrating. If I'm talking and my microphone goes out again, just make the triangle sign and I'll know. So yeah, or Stuart, just show your little teacup and I'll know that it's anyway. My most challenging, as Jack said as well, which I jumped in rudely, is cash flow, because it's the thing I hate the most. The cash flow management. It's so frustrating, especially because a lot of it, you can see why the cash flow problems are, and sometimes they shouldn't be there, and it's really irritating because they are. So you could miss, something may just happen on site which causes you not to be able to get a drawdown. That will just throw everything out from a cash flow point of view. A refinance might not come in on time, an investor loan may not come in on time. All these things is just crazy, and unless you keep a very high cash buffer, which then stops you from growing in a way. And the same as you guys, we have so many opportunities. I've got more opportunities than I have the available cash to put into, so that's really challenging. And so that's the most least enjoyable. Then the other one is also uncontrollables and just time. I'm quite an impatient person, and in the property development sector and social housing development sector, it's a slow moving sector where doing a deal within 3 years is classed as fast, i.e. offer accepted, having it through and developed in 3 years. That cycle, that's classed as a fast cycle from a new build development point of view. But that, other businesses, like trading businesses where you could have sales on a daily basis, I would probably in hindsight be much more suited to that type of business mentally than. Anyway, I've learned to adjust that, so I'm dealing with it. But my most enjoyable is kind of what Stuart's mentioned as well. When you have that theory of that business plan and it's working, the system, people, you have a good team who are following the processes, and it actually works. The business builds on itself. So some of my most enjoyable moments as I come in, a new deal as came through. The land team have done something positive from a planning point of view themselves, or sold a deal to a housing association. The commercial, construction and technical teams have made good moves on live sites, and they're all running through on budget, etc. And I've not had to do anything from an ops point of view about it. So the business is working. That's the best feeling. It's better than the actual money that you are meant to make from it. And you just want to do more of that, and then say, right, if we can do it here, and if we can do these deals, we should be able to do it over there and do more deals. And then you start ruining things
Exactly
again.
that. You literally have to start again. You change one tweak and you increase one demand of one department, and then everything else falls apart because you have to then do everything. It's just pulling levers and looking at dials. It's great fun. But I don't know why we just can't be content when it's running well and it's all working perfectly. Just walk away and just leave it for 6 months. But no, it's working great. We can 10x this.
I think that's the curse. I think that's the curse of being an entrepreneur in property, because you kind of get too settled with the portfolio and the live projects, and you're like, I just want to look at another shiny penny, another one, and find another way to finance it, and it just keeps fucking going, doesn't it? Doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Just a fun phrase to touch back on the cash flow one, Dorian. One of our main backers is a family office, and they're like £100 million book. They do about 50 to 80 deals a year, so one a week at least. And the founder is an admirable guy. I love spending time with him. I try and go for as many lunches as I can with him. But from a cash flow perspective, he always has a phrase. He said it only ever goes to the right. And what he means by that is when you rerun a cash flow to update everything, you don't ever end up moving anything on an Excel sheet left. It all goes delayed. We're supposed to be in a month, but it's going to be 6 months, and that is the issue. The issue is you're reliant on a lot of moving factors that you can't control, and everything always does go to the right. I think I've probably moved 3 cash flow things in the whole career of our businesses left, where we've gone, oh, that came in quicker than we thought, and that's just.
Do you think it's just because we're generally optimistic? To be an entrepreneur, you need to be optimistic, and you've got to hope, and you've got to have, you've got to have this opinion that it's going to be better than maybe more of a realistic, someone who's a bit more of a realistic person would not be so positive.
Yeah, I was actually talking this through with another developer this week, saying that the difference between analyzing a deal feeling positive and feeling negative can, if you've recently come back off a site and you've overspent and it's been delayed and you're feeling down and I very rarely get emotionally impacted by stuff, but let's assume that I did, and then stacked a deal that was very similar, I probably would be more negative. But if I hadn't done that deal, I might be more positive. And that what you want to try and do is make sure that the difference between that mood isn't it working and not working, and making sure that you have consistent analysis, because you can sometimes kill a deal yourself from negativity. Yeah. And it's funny because Ben's super negative on construction and build costs, and I'm super negative on timeframes. So as a blend, when we send, if we're looking at our cash flow, Ben will be like, that will happen before June, won't it? And I'll be like, well, why don't we put September? And if it does happen in June, we're laughing.
So I'm like Ben on that, Jack, because I'm optimistic on timescales from a cash flow point of view. It's like, when we're in our pipeline meetings, I'm saying, well, we're in planning now, so it should be determined in X months, and then we've got the 106, and then we've got the decision JR period and conditions, and we work with HA, so we should get this done by August. And it ends up being like November. And I'm thinking, but those 3 months then to get from there, I'm like on the team. We have weekly meetings, and I'm like, it frustrates me because it shouldn't be the case, but it is the case. But I just wanted to bring a point as well from what you said. I went to a talk, part of the Goldman Sachs thing, and they brought in the founder of Leon, one of the fast food chain. Probably same fast food, probably. So the healthy fast food chain, Leon. They sold to the Issa brothers, who had Asda, for 100 million. And one of the biggest things I remember from that talk was he said exactly that there, Jack, is from the time they founded the business all the way through, they had this cash flow. And the cash flow was always telling them that they were going to be positive within 3 to 6 months. And, in the next quarter, they would say the same thing, i.e., we've just got another 3 to 6 months to go, and then we're going to be positive. Our cash flow, from like a business point of view, is exactly like that. We've got the pipeline there, but there's just these timings. And he said, eventually, though, if you stay in it long enough, it eventually catches up. As long as the fundamentals are sound, eventually it will catch up. But
we have
it's
the
it's
exact
frustrating.
same discussion. So after this podcast, we're meeting with our non-exec advisor. So he's been part of like 400 businesses, their growth, advised on their board, etc. And we have the same discussion. But Ben always goes, but this time next year, Rodney, we're going to be being our own investors in our own schemes. I was like, you've been saying that now for 6 years.
Yeah.
Well, Dorian, did you say what you don't like the most?
I'm kind of like with Stuart on that. I love the whole thing. Like the goal is set, the vision is there. I have the passion for it, and because of that, you learn to love even the tasks you don't like to do. I have a good team around me, so looking at the Eisenhower matrix, if anything comes in that I shouldn't be doing, it goes straight to my team members, and they all help me with it. So I'm not left with many tasks now that I don't like doing.
I know what you don't like doing.
Yeah.
Not doing stuff in the business.
What, delegating?
Oh yes. Well, you're right. I mean, if I don't feel like I'm proactively moving the business forward, like I'm just kind of like we talked about, spending your time doing other things. I'll start going into a real like anxious mood. Sundays, I put it in the group chat to you guys. Sundays are really difficult for me because in this business everything moves quite fast. Well, slow but fast. Monday to Friday, Saturday and Sunday is quite dead. Saturday I do a bit of catching up and have time with the family. But by the time Sunday comes around, I'm reset. I don't need a lot of time to get myself re-energized, and I don't like the silence and the not moving.
I do. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, Sundays. I used to work every Saturday and Sunday mornings just to catch up and stuff. And then since having kids, having the Saturday and Sunday off, it is a real gift to
Stu loves
train
it,
your
mate.
brain again to not want to work
Get
all the
me
time.
away.
But then as soon as you do it, it's a good place to be. But yeah, we were talking about in the group about Sundays being a bit of a lost day where you sort of, I mean, effectively, you open your doors open on a Saturday and you got your staff in, you're effectively 20% better off on your overheads, your cost, of time in and energy you're putting into the business. It's just, you should be able to run your business Monday to Friday. And I think that the staff need the time off. I think they used to have like 6 days a week and then you have 1 day off. And then they tried it at like 4 days a week. Have anyone heard of this or looked into it, of why we have a 2-day weekend? It was like the optimum amount of time you could squeeze out of people.
Yeah, I mean,
to get the most out
I
of them
bring
Monday
this
to
up.
Friday.
I bring this up all the time because who decided everyone in the world works 5 days a week then has 2 days off? Like
Industrial Revolution is
yeah,
it was to keep workers in factories and then give them the weekend to enjoy and spend their gains.
Yeah, but now I'm a 6-7
Down to
days
4 day week, isn't it?
consecutive. So.
Isn't there some European countries that have dropped it to 4 day weeks?
Yeah, I
France
think
do
so.
that
Is it
as well.
Switzerland?
This country's not going far off though. How many more fucking bank holidays
love
do
a
we
bank
need? Do you know what I
holiday.
mean? We're like gradually getting there.
Yeah, get in and do some work. I love bank
you love a
holidays
bank
and all that
holiday?
because no one's ringing me. I get to do some proper stuff rather than fucking dealing with.
That's what I'd say about Sundays. What I said in the group chat. It's nice to have no inbound and just R&D and focus on shit, and you can really get some progress on stuff. And then Monday comes and you go, I worked on that thing yesterday, and fuck, I'm in it again. You're back in. All right, I'll do mine quick. Obviously, cash flow, yeah, challenging. So I'll try to come up with something else. For what I hate the most, and I'm surprised none of you said it, planning. Just anything with the fucking councils. Just always feel like I'm banging my head against a brick wall. It's the most frustrating part, followed very closely by dealing with lenders, solicitors. I'd say those two things are the most annoying. To be fair, nowadays, I don't really deal with that as much. But I remember in the early days, just like, if I knew we were getting into a refi, I'd just be like, oh, here we go. Just fucking, but yeah, councils, fuck me. Just dealing with planning. Bollocks. And then the most challenging part, I mean, it is cash flow. So, because if you're growing, it's just cash flow. Like we got 25 grand we have to find every Friday to make sure we pay the lads just for the construction business. And all it takes is a few delayed payments or a bit of this, bit of that. And suddenly you're going, got to pull money from here into company loans, starts to get messy. And then you're untangling that perpetually, but then you're re-tying it in. So yeah, I'll just keep it as cash flow. That is the most challenging thing for a development business because it's so capital intensive. So generally, like, I mean, the other day we just found out, fuck yeah, we had $3,000 to pay and rolled up council tax that we hadn't been paying. Just that's $3,000 there, and then you have another $2,000 thing here. They just quickly eat away at you.
Mate, everything that comes in through these doors, right? For some reason, like we're very systemized and we're very good on cost control, but still, there's these bills that come through left, right, and centre they're always in the thousands, and it's just like I read a book called Built to Sell. You probably have all read it, and it's all about modeling your business and getting recurring revenue and getting paid up front and get into a positive working capital cycle, which is a great. If you get recurring revenue, positive working capital cycle, i.e. paid up front, and then and you've got basically your cash balance is higher than your profit figures because of that, then is a great business, very valuable, easy to sell, and obviously systemized, blah, blah, blah. But in our sectors, if you had your time again, or if you completely was starting again, how would you redo it to streamline, reduce that cash flow pressure?
This is exactly why we've done what we've done. Not only to extend the lifetime value of a client, but also sourcing and project management is front loaded to get that commitment from the client. So we're always getting a cash cushion up front. The construction is healthy chunks of cash every week. Obviously, sometimes get delays, but every week we're getting paid, so we're not working too long in arrears. And then we're getting the residual on the rental on the back end. So even once the client's finished with us, we're still then making trail, if you like, on their project, and at each point we're adding value for the service. So we're three dynamic forms of income, but the problem is we run our own developments. So our own developments are the things that swallow all of the cash. We've got loads of profit on paper, but no fucking cash in the bank some weeks, and you're just like, how does this happen? Oh yeah, because we're running our own development here and it's swallowing everything. Fucking
So
brilliant.
what we do, so we I read a book called Profit First quite a few years ago, and it was just about making sure you're paying yourself first on top of all that cash flow. So once a week I set up a completely separate bank account with Virgin. I think it was like Virgin Money. They were given the best interest rate at the time, repayment rate at the time. So we just basically put $5,000 a week in every week. It goes out like a cost of sale, and that just builds up over time. So when you're going through the good times, because we're quite seasonal as well, we make more money in the summer than we do in the winter, just because of the weather and everything else. But it's there as like a bit of a buffer. So yes, it should be profit, but we don't pull profit. We'll just reinvest. So you're in this conundrum all the time between having cash in the bank that's doing nothing for you, that's effectively depreciating, or you want to reinvest into other things and grow your company in other areas, whether it's on plant, hire, more staff, more properties. We lend it to other businesses for a small interest rate, but then you've got to sort of forecast enough in time to go, well, can we spend this 150 grand on this decision, or are we going to run into an 80 grand problem in 3 months? And that's the constant balancing of running a business, is knowing how much to invest, how much to save. And the amount of times we've gone, shit, we've had a delay, let's pull 50 grand out of this sub account that just ticks up over time. And we don't miss $5,000 a week. It sort of goes away, and all of a sudden you're looking at it and there might be 180 grand, there might be 90 grand. We pull another sort of 60 grand out of the pot and we let it tick away again. But it's always good to have that sort of buffer. So in those 25 grand payments, right, I'd be aiming for sort of 30 grand a week. Needs to be hitting all the time, and out of that 30, just building your $5,000 sort of buffer. It's there for profit, but ultimately we don't take profit. We reinvest and look longer term.
Is that because your trading businesses Stuart gets paid in advance?
We do, yeah. We get paid. We get paid on stages throughout the build, so it's geared on our payment structure.
Yeah.
So our terms of business, and they pay in milestones.
So you've structured that where you get paid before you pay your supply chain, and you get your initial deposit to help. So as long as your sales cycle keeps coming through, you're always cash positive from that. You should be.
Yep. Yeah, so we get paid a deposit up front. We get paid a secondary stage design, which is to pay for the third-party consultancy costs before we pay them, and then we're gearing up around scaffolding erection, which gets paid before the scaffolding goes up, materials delivery before the materials. But then we've also got a 30-day credit terms, or net 30, which effectively could be 60 days down the road, and when we pay for the materials. But we're always working ahead of the curve, and at the end there's a small balance which they pay.
So our working capital cycle is positive, save for our pipeline investment. Our pipeline investment is what absorbs cash, and it
Your
takes
soft costs, right? All your soft costs for new jobs you pay for.
yes. So yeah, exactly. Signing jobs up, So securing land options, conditional contracts, the planning cost reports, and all of that. We've got 30 sites in the pipeline, and the average time it's taken is nearly 2 years to get them through that cycle. And the average cost is between £2,000 to £5,000 per unit. So we've got 1,000 units in the pipeline. That means we'll need between 2 to 5 million
Shit.
just of soft costs to service that. Very quickly, it becomes it's the driver of a cash problem basically, and so making and then like you mentioned in the cash flow, it says, well, we're selling this site and we're getting all of our cash back, and then we're getting this project, and then we're doing that. We're starting a site every other month, but then all of a sudden we get, because it's planning, like Ryan, we'll have a delay for 4 months on one project from one email, which you didn't expect last minute. And that's it. All of a sudden, your cash flow just gets blown out, and you're like, "Whoa!" It's so that's how we're still trying to figure out how we can nail.
What's your average units? How many units on the site roughly do you do? You're working on about 30 unit sites. Is that your average number?
Call it average 30. Yeah.
Yeah, fucking
I do have a question though. Sorry. I do have a question. It was just on the back of that premise there. I was talking about that book, Built to Sell, and how, for your company to be valuable, for your life to be less stressful, if you could structure your company or your business, and this is for anybody listening to, where you can get paid in up front, you can be cash positive. So like if you're a developer and you're going to work with an investor to do a deal, structure it where you might get a sourcing fee, you can get a project management fee yourself personally, so you can personally cash flow and be positive throughout the deal, or something like that. But the other part of that book was about building a stream of revenue that's recurring revenue, because that's where you can build a really valuable business, because it's predictable cash flow. So yeah, my question was, are you three doing anything from a recurring revenue point of view for like that business wealth that technically you could sell for like a multiple?
Reoccurring revenue, yeah. So we've got Skylofts, which is our marketing. We give these to all the kids because they love them.
Love it.
And that's our cash cows. That's what we basically rely on to basically support our business. Which we would look at selling. I think we looked at franchising it. We looked at selling, but one thing I can't do is sell the staff because they're such a fundamental part of the family. We would potentially look at selling in 5 to 10 years' time once we're at a critical point where the commercial developments are overtaking the amount of loft leads and revenue that's generated from that business. So yeah, 1 times multiple of revenue would be ideal, or 3 times profit would be something we'd look to sell for. And it's franchisable, so we'd just sell all the systems, all the whole thing, all the branding. And the property side, I am really struggling to work out why to sell it, because you've got the house prices that were 55 grand in 77 are now 285 grand or whatever in 2022, 2023. So holding assets and stock is really important. And I think if we can get it cash flowing positively, which 100% of the developments we've done so far are positively cash flowing with very little or no money left in, I find it hard to sell that to get more cash to then work harder to put it back to work. So, but ultimately we do developments with investors where we're doing all the work for half of the earned income or capital appreciation. Where if we was to sell a few, we could use that cash to do where we own 100% of our own. But like Jack said, it's very difficult to do that because you are locking up all your cash. It takes longer. Where you can scale and use all your systems and your team and your energy to do more by taking more investors on.
Just real quickly back on that, Stu.
Yeah, mate.
Just because I was actually chatting to Alex Hearn about this, like exiting a business. Why would you exit a business if you're just getting 1 year's of rev or 3 years of profit? Surely it's better to try and replace.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, and I never looked to sell it, but ultimately it's the time it's taken. So it's the time on revenue versus what we could do to make that in other developments, and we're not ready to take on 6 £5 million development sites running concurrently or 1 a quarter yet. But in 18 months, 2 years time, 2.5 years time, I think we'll have the systems in place.
I'm referring to Sky Lofts.
Yeah. So am I.
You know, if I was you and I was running a business that you could maybe whittle down to an hour a week, and you could sell it for 3 years worth of net profit.
Why would you sell it?
Why wouldn't you just run it for 3 years?
He wants to take the team. He wants to take the team from Skylofts and move them into the development business and sell Skylofts as its own business, where another company could take.
Yeah.
So that's why. Yeah.
The framework of building a management team.
But I mean,
go on, mate.
My same question remains: whether it's your existing team or the new team, or Joe Blogs, why sell it if you've got if you just waited 3 years, you've got the same result.
Go on, D. My agent will answer that.
I was going to say, like, if you Stuart's, so if I'm trying to put myself in Stuart's shoes, looking at on the basis of cash sell, building a team is one of the most difficult things to do, right? After you've got your strategy and proved the business model works, it's all about people then, and the working capital management. People is so hard. Stuart wants to move one of his biggest assets, which is his, other than the reputation of Skylofts, where the value is, and he wants to take those team members and put them into his development company and ramp that up. That means Stuart would have to replace the entire team at Skylofts, which would require a huge amount of head work and head space, which, yes, of course, you could do in theory, but I can see the logic for moving that team into the developments, ramping that up, selling Skylofts to a strategic partner that doesn't need the team, but wants the reputation, wants the brand, wants the order book, etc. Moves that into their business so they can deliver it. You get a cash lump sum. You re-inject that into the development business and motor on, really. I can see the logic for it.
Boom, mic drop. That's exactly the plan. As much as I love Skylofts, it was my second baby after my first construction company. But after 15 years of doing it, it deserves to go to someone who's going to look after it and want to take it for the next 15 years. And because of just the way that the world's gone and where my passions are now, I've now got all the stepping stones to go into property development a lot more aggressively. And I think I can't do both at a high level. I need to focus on one that's going to give us ultimately the end goal, which is passive income and, long-term growth. I just can't, energy per revenue pound.
Yeah, I think the reason that I was asking that question is more along the lines of with a company sale, you'll have management targets, you'll have performance targets, and normally they do tail off and materialize to not 3x profit because you're not doing it and you've built that relationship and you've got the systems and blah 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 blah, and actually might transpire to 1 year, 2 years of profit. So why don't you try and keep that going? It's just difficult to exit some businesses. Some businesses have a really sought after space in the market, but other businesses don't sell well, especially between sort of 200 to 5 mil revenue. As soon as you get above that, it's a different story. You can swallow and merge a lot more easily, like John Lewis and Waitrose.
I could see like a local contractor though that if Skylofts went up for sale, I agree with everything you say, mind Jack. Business selling is actually it is most sales don't go through, and they take a lot of time, and they try to get you on earn-outs. There's a lot of tie kickers, especially with like the M&A. People getting into M&A with no money down and stuff like that. There'll be a lot of that around as well. But the goal is to ideally work with a very good, M&A or business broker, broker that finds a strategic partner, like a local contractor that has been trading for a while, has got his cash rich, wants to aggressively expand. Acquiring something like Skylofts could be a strategic move for them to instantly add, 2.5+ million of revenue, whatever it is, 4 million.
It's the home improvement markets. You've got the Anglians out there. You've got the people who do the glazing, the conservatories. The system for lofts with our model and everything is literally oven ready. You take the systems, the leads, the data we collect at point one, and we finish with the flowers and thank yous at the end, and the whole thing is documented. So it's quite an easy business to sell on.
The best thing for you though is, whilst you've got your business in a position for a sale or give yourself the best chance, you're very systemized. You've got a manual for how everything's done. You're cash flow positive. You've proven that over years. You've got, whilst you don't have the team, all of that process is there. It would be where there's a lot of businesses that fail to sell is because they're not systemized. They're not cash flow positive. So working capital adjustments need to be made for the business valuation, which is really where a big driver of earn-outs come from. So yeah, there's a combination of things. But I think anybody listening, if you've got a business interest in sell, you have to give yourself that runway to get your business ready for sale.
3 years. You need 3 good years of accountants as well. Like the decisions you make to exit are massively different to when you want to grow or sustain, because we spend our money based on where we want to be in 3 years' time. And I think it's a decision you've got to make today if you want to start thinking about it in 2027, 2028. So
yeah, I spoke about this in the other podcast. Lettings business to me is that it's like a valuable business that could sell one day.
Because of the management recurring fee.
Yeah, management. You can generally our target is to run at 20% profitability, and we are at 370 units, I think it is now, that are secured or in the pipeline, and we want to be at 1,000 units by the end of next year, which should be doable. And then 1,000 units, times by say an average of 550 rent per month at 15% management fee. You start working it out, and it becomes quite a lot of money just passively coming in. And it's building up strength.
Well, that'd be about 80,000 a month, something like that, wouldn't it? About 80,000 a month from.
I've got the all the targets of the projects on Monday.com. We've created all these targets and all these different things. Really useful way to project sales and things like that. But
How do they get valued then to sell letting agents? If you build 1,000 unit portfolio,
typically a multiple of the income from 0.8 to 1.2, depending on a few factors. But call it, your gross rental take per year. But that does depend on your profitability and things like that.
Your net revenue off so that'll be let's say you're charging a 10% fee. That'll be what you're getting paid for the 10% fee, right?
So sorry, not the income that's coming that all the tenants are paying, but the fees that we're taking off of those. Yeah, the fees off of those.
So if it's 80,000 a month times 12, it's £1 million a year in rent management fee. The value would be anywhere from 800 grand to 1.2 million. Hypothetically,
depending on profitability and quality of the landlords and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you two doing anything, Jack, Stuart, on a recurring revenue point of view?
Yeah, I mean, our passion project for a national saleable business is XP Surveys, which is, whether you're doing a survey in Edinburgh or in Plymouth, it's black and white. You're measuring a building. We're currently operating at about 20 to 40 surveys per month. Here we go, trucker boy.
Here we are, American. Make America great again. Make Henley great again, Jack. Sorry. Oh, I just broke something there.
Yeah, we've got plans to take our business national. The market for surveys is there's 400,000 planning applications that go in every year on average, which makes it about an £800 billion market. So if we take just 1% of that, it can take our business to a national business. So it's a very scalable model.
How much? Wait, say again. What's the addressable market size?
So if there's 400,000 planning applications, you need a measured survey for any planning application because you need a design plan that you're going to scope it out to produce it. This is just planning. There's also infrastructure, highways, councils, all of that sort of, remeasuring. There's hydro, tidal measurements, everything that you can imagine. Monitoring surveillance, so like construction after planning. But this is just the planning market, which is where we're best at, really, which is measured building surveys, topos for developers and architects. It is 400,000 planning applications roughly on average go forward every year. So if you value the average survey about 2K per survey, so if it's a big topo, it might be, we've done 66 acres, which I think was about 22K, all the way down to a measured building survey, which is a grand plus VAT type gig. You've got everything all the way in between. If you take an average of 2K per survey, that's an £800 billion market every year.
800 billion.
And the way to tap into that market is there's tons of big, archaic, slow surveying businesses where they've got surveying fee earners and they've got in-house where they've got to go win the business, convert the business, deliver the business. We've got systems and processes in our business which set us aside and make us completely unique. We're the only company that have an online quotation tool. So if there was 1 million people that went on our website and wanted a quote, they would get their quote there and then. But another business can't deliver that. So we've got scalable metrics. We've looked at expansion plans. We've looked at franchise plans, but we're building the foundations today, which is why it's probably grown, again, like Dorian said, it's grown a lot slower than we would have actually liked it to, but we're putting in so many foundationary measures so that it is scalable, because we're thinking, well, where's the problem when it's 1,000 surveys per month rather than 30 or 40.
What's your marketing strategy like? What's the sales look like month on month? Like how are you pulling those levers on making sure the leads are coming in? And is it referrals?
So obviously the business started just from doing work within our own company, then people that we know. We're 95% of our new leads generation is just SEO for our website. People would rather use a local firm. They Google it in. The rest of it is we get a lot of repeat business, our target client, because we'd much rather B2B, so dealing with an architect that needs 5 surveys per month than dealing with a customer. The average person in the UK moves house every 12 years. So if we bag a customer, or like Stuart bags a customer, the likelihood of using that customer again is in 12 years' time, if they can remember you and if they like the service. So we
Yeah, but
focus on.
one person will tell 4 people. So I mean, that's the beauty of what we do, is that we do a really good job for one person, and their neighbours, their friends, their relatives. That's how we've grown our business. And the same, but the thing is with the building market is that no one really talks to each other. So if you do a good job for one builder, or one developer, developers are different. They'll talk to other developers, and I've used XP surveys for our Twickenham deal and was really happy and would use them again. So I mean, we're looking for our next deal on our next site that needs a full set of drawings. I'll use XP, but I
Yeah,
don't go and shout and scream about that. Where if you give someone a good experience with their loft conversion, the builders are known stereotypically to be disastrous and messy and all the rest of it. And if you don't do these things, they will bang the drum and talk about you for years. I had a lead come in last week that come from a customer who built 6 years ago. Literally 6 years ago. Their friends
So
are now ready.
Stu, the thing I would say about your businesses though is you're delivering a high ticket item. Our margin is like 500 quid, average. So
High
your
volume.
margin might be 30 grand, but where we can't rely on B2C is if we build a relationship with an architect that needs 5 surveys per month, they could be pushing 50 grand's worth of business through us a year, every year, for their duration of their architectural practice, whether that be 50 years, for an example. So lifetime value of an architect over a customer is tenfold. So SEO, and then obviously we have all the email marketing, social media marketing, all of that nonsense. We've just hired a business development manager because Ben and I, what happens in our business is it's seasonal on when Ben and I aren't that busy in other businesses. So we'd pump a bit of new business, get on the phones, do what we need to do, call in some business, and it will sort of go up, and then it will sort of tail out and then go back down when Ben and I are busy. So we've got a full-time business development manager now. But fundamentally, the way that we would take this national is we're still working on building a hugely scalable business, a bit like the McDonald's model. If anyone's seen the movie The Founder, like build one that's well-oiled, system focused, and you're basically building a process that you can replicate, is then just going to be PPC. Because once you've got the budget for PPC, you'll get everything online, and then you have a compounding effect of returning.
That's literally what we're doing now.
One very quick thing you mentioned there on your business. Again, something else I read. If you've got like a sales based business, you should never just hire one salesperson. You should always have at least 2, because they're naturally competitive and have like that. In a sales based environment, scoreboard, as you remember, Jack, from your recruitment days, and it will drive more calls, more outbounds, more meetings, more prospects, more offers. Whether it's just one, they think they're doing a good job, but they've got nothing to compare against. So a salesperson should always be on the hunting ground with another salesperson.
Like it. I mean, to some degree, the new BDM is kind of competing already with Ben and I, because I already bring in quite a lot of business, and equally does Ben. But I completely agree with you. But then there's a classic sales versus ops. So to get that second salesperson, we need 4 new surveyors to deliver that extra 30, 40 surveys per month.
Yeah, fair enough. Yin and yang as always, isn't it? Yeah.
Sales first, baby. Yeah, I was just going to say that that what you've just described, Jack, is where we're pivoting to now. I've literally got 2 of my good mates are wizards with the ads and the funnels and the marketing funnels and pay per click, and we all of our business has been organic so far, and through social media marketing. But now we've created these funnels, which are I'll send them to you guys in the group chat. Actually, they're pretty fucking sick, and we've got this AI bot that warms up the leads and gets them to book calls and things like that. And it's a really comprehensive process, and we're now going to turn that towards investors. And start using pay-per-click to get more and more investors, because we want to get to our 48 HMOs a year target and quickly. And then we want to do the commercial to resis. And we know that organically we'll probably get there in maybe two years, accounting for the repeat business. But if we just expedite that and go for the ads, then we can qualify more leads and try and build up the pipeline even more. But yeah, the turning on the ads is such a game changer. Like, you get so much more inbound, but you do need good sales team on the close because it's slightly colder. Whereas organic is great because they kind of warm themselves up following our social media for 3-4 months, and then by the time they're on the call, they're already sold. They're just starting to build they want the direct rapport then. Whereas through an ad, it's it's kind of a bit hit or miss, isn't it? You could have someone who's just gearing and ready to go, likes a concept, let's do it, and then someone who goes, okay, let me think, let me do this and then 6 months later they're ready. But yeah, pay-per-click all the way. If you can master pay-per-click, you're basically printing money, aren't you? Or printing sales. All right, next question. We got one more question. So from Carol XCZC, she has asked, or he has asked, but I'm pretty sure it's a she. Do you have future plans to also work outside the country? So I thought that was quite an interesting question. I mean, I know we've touched on it a little bit before, but to work outside the country, Dorian, what are you saying?
So by that question, just when I read it, when it said work with this outside the country, do you know what this was defining, or did it mean just our business models, or?
I think for us it could just be obviously in the property space and outside the country. And for you, D, I know you've got plans to go into England, but let's just assume the UK is the country.
Yeah, no, that's so I'm a very ambitious person. I've got in my ideas list that we talked about in the last episode, and I've even put in the group chat to you guys. There's a housing crisis in other countries across the world, and as I said, there's no stupid thing to write down in your ideas book, in your notebook, and in mine, I've got scaling into Australia, Canada, and other parts of Europe. I see nothing. Again, as I mentioned earlier, my simple mind starts with, if you can do it in one area, you can do it in other areas. Now I know it's controversial, but that's where my starting point is. If I was to scale internationally, I would probably remove the construction element. I would try to structure it with removing the construction element and relying on those local main contractors rather than building construction businesses in lots of areas, purely because the cash flow risk is just so high in the construction sector. Being in it and growing a business in it, you can clearly see that if you can do deals where you can forward sell. So I would only target areas where same model applies, basically, as Stuart mentioned last episode as well, following government money in other areas. What countries have housing crisis? What countries have government support in terms of financial backing as well? What countries have decently easy planning systems to work by and have decent land availability? And then I would same thing that we've done here. Understand that element, work out if there's a viable market there, then structure a local land team. It would all be land led, devising opportunities, working with the local best consultants I can find, and actually working with contractors there on a construction base and having it forward sold, forward funded, back to back with the contractor. That's how I would look to do it if I was to scale. And then my other, which was talking about recurring revenue, we're in the early phase at the moment of launching a software, basically to help with construction. Bit our own one that we're building for our own company. We want to license it then to the entire construction sector, and that would be an international and global business. So we're using our own company as a guinea pig. So yeah, that's what I would do. And yeah, we are looking to do it. In short answer.
Nice, Stu. What about going outside the country?
Well, I mean, that would create more bandwidth. That's why I forgot. I mentioned the question I missed prior, because it would give you more bandwidth to look at and explore those things. I think I'm very conscious of not spreading too thin, and I think that would be something that you could look. And it's all again that shiny penny syndrome we mentioned on the last episode. If an opportunity arose and I had the bandwidth, then of course, yeah, I'd look at doing anything anywhere. And hopefully, if I was living in Monaco or Madeira or somewhere where it's a bit warmer, Portugal, Gibraltar, then I'd be looking for opportunities there, and I'd still want to have a base in the UK. But right now, I'm just interested in the UK property market's one of the best in the world. So why would I focus anywhere else if I'm in property?
Amen, Jack.
No, I mean, no, in what I currently do. I don't have any ambitions for our development company to go international. I don't have any ambitions for any of our businesses that we currently run to go international. What I would potentially take international is some form of fund or investment company. My dream, and we haven't actually touched on it to date, is to basically be in the M&A space. Like I think my dream is to have non-exec advisory position in a few businesses rolling. So I'm helping other businesses grow, scale, make decisions, do what they need to do, and invest in various businesses in their growth pattern. I believe that, it mind boggles me that a startup tech company can get funding that's a complete pissing in the wind, and a development business with second charges, grown track record for, like our business for 8 years, can't get a fucking penny that's unsecured. That mind boggles me. So supporting businesses where I think that makes sense, and that would be international, whether that's the funds come from an international source. I've obviously got ties to the USA because of my marriage, and I'd quite like to do some fundraising over there. They all believe that the pound is sound. So pulling funds over from the US property market, which is quite volatile and not that consistent, because obviously they don't have land shortages. They have other shortages, but don't have land shortages because there's just acres and acres and hectares of space. So from a money perspective, yes, I would like to build some form of fund for property development, and also an investment vehicle that's more for businesses. Has always been my passion. So maybe one day in that space, but not for for me. I think that the markets that I operate in are big enough for me to do what I want to do. I know that Dorian's got bigger plans, but yeah, that's my view.
Nice.
I still won't be skilling into Canada anytime soon, mind. They're like blue sky picture. I just write them down. I got investment funds down as well. I love it all. I love it all. But I know, like I said, shiny pen, you can't do it all. So I just write it down, and that gives me my fix, and I carry on focused on my key goal, which is kind of like what Stuart said. I know where I need to be in X years because I've got this milestone, and that's all I'm doing. That's all I'm focusing on. But like these backing things, once I get a bit more capital, a bit more reputation, more contacts, ultimately, if you have some money yourself, but the biggest thing is contacts, being in the space and building key contacts. Like Jack and Stuart, I know, and same as you, Ryan, and myself, we're having meetings with high-profile people very frequently. The more that happens, it's a lot easier to make bigger waves and do bigger deals, bigger opportunities come your way, because this business is all about people. That is just what it is.
And the four of us, we're all up for taking a group fund. So if anyone's watching this and they've got 10 million quid, that's fixed 7%, we'll all back it and give you PGs, and we'll all tap into it. We're 20 million. We want 10 million each, really.
10?
Yeah.
10? You're more like 50.
50,
Yeah.
100.
Give you a bonus structure too. So
I'd say for Trafford, do you know what? I always wanted to do co-living schemes, like large. Look, I've done so many floor plans and 3D models of like what I'd want to do with people living in kind of like large HMO apartment hybrid, but where there's really nice facilities and it's geared towards like making the most of people's time and lifestyles, things like that. I know you guys would have seen different things like this before. But that is my plan with the Beaumont and Partners logo, that butterfly, like a symbol of freedom, symbol of new beginnings and things like that. I want to get to that point in the future. I've actually got a vision document for the company, which starts with HMOs, conveyor belts, and then small commercial to resis, conveyor belts, keep the two running in tandem, and then larger commercial to resis, and then even larger commercial to resis, and then tiering off of the smaller developments as we kind of like cascade through the pipeline, and then finishing with build to rents. And at the build to rent stage, because it's such a huge market in the UK, so much to go at, there's no point in going abroad for that model until we get to the build to rents. Then I'd like to have something on the coast in Italy and other things that are more just for fun and a bit of a brand play, kind of like the big hotel chains do. As time goes on, they can create that global awareness for their developments or for their service. But it's a long way in the future.
Two markets to keep your eyes on is the single family home PRS sector. So larger scale, 75 units plus, housing schemes, 2, 3, 4 bed. Lot of money coming into the sector for.
That's the Grant Cardone special, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's
Cash is trash.
but he's more multi blocks. But in terms of the UK, single family homes attracting serious money, PRS, and also though the later living sector, which is set to go into crisis mode in the future. They say they need an extra 50,000 homes over the next sort of 20 years, but we're not building a fraction of that. So everyone's living a lot longer, and there's older generation in housing stock. So there's could be even an individual in like a 4-bedroom house
Yeah.
type of thing. So
I was just going to touch on that when what you're discussing, Dorian, about end of life. I watched a talk. I went to an event, a conference where Daniel Priestley talked about the demographics of the world. And there's things called a life cycle Christmas tree. That we're coming back to triangles, gents. Sorry about that. But basically, the natural life cycle of a country is you have, this is the birth rate, and that's the widest point of population, and it goes up like a Christmas tree. Obviously, you have spurts, so that's world wars, pandemics, illnesses, whatever it may be. But the Christmas tree always naturally goes up, and what it quantifies is the population of the age. So the bottom axis is 0 years old, and the top is 100 years old, and the width is the population. Now, interestingly, Dorian, you talk about people getting older. The Christmas tree is getting wider at the top, and the birth rate is actually going down. So what we're actually dealing with is a linear line of the actual death rate of youth is decreasing. The rate of birth is decreasing, but the age of people is lasting longer. So it actually goes up a little bit more like a sausage. And then you've got, and what is really interesting is if you are listening around the world, you can look at your own country's Christmas tree, because, for an example, China has huge bulkheads around its population because of the one-child policy. So people were pumping out kids before the policy came in, and then the policy came in, and then they're pumping kids out after the fact. So you actually have generations that over and precede other generations below. So it's not a Christmas tree. You have Christmas trees like India, where the death rate is still really young. So the population is really high geared towards the bottom of age, and that is why companies like Google, Apple go out to India for tech and labor, because there's so much age labor between the age of sort of 15 and 30. It then tails off really quickly, and there's no later on sort of demand for labor in India. And it's just super interesting to look at, because I can guarantee if I said to you, draw a tree of England, you would get it wrong. And just to understand that market that you're in. So if you're operating in America, if you're operating in India, if you're operating in China, understand the population, because you will spot gaps in the market by taking a very, very macro look back at that population.
It's actually known as the demographic collapse, and Elon Musk has been a big proponent for this over the last 5 years, traveling around meeting world leaders, and met with the Japanese Prime Minister Kishida. And the Japanese Prime Minister, because they're in a crisis, they lost 400,000 people net in 2022, I think it was. So there's a huge demographic collapse. I mean, people in the world generally people in the world generally think that we're going to overpopulate the planet. They think that's the crisis. But the real crisis is that we need to have something like 2.3 or 2.4 children per couple to sustain population, or to incrementally grow. But we're having something like 1.85 or 1.9 in the world. India's obviously having more. China is having far less, and they're looking to half by the end of the century. So demographic collapse is huge, and Japan have just mandated a dating app from the government to try and force people to have more children.
If you look at Japan, just picking on that, because it also caused a problem. Again, in the book that I referenced earlier on today, upcoming when we've reached retirement age, there likely won't be a state pension or anything like it looks like now, because of the when it was brought in, the demographic was completely different. People weren't living as long, and there was a lot more workers per elderly. And there's the same in Japan. When Japan's economy is struggling, and stock market's really struggling, because I can't remember the date, but years ago there was for every one elderly person there was 45 people in the working age group. Now in Japan is for every one elderly and retired, there's 2
Wow.
people in the working age group. So they've got a huge crisis. There's the elderly demographic is massive compared to now the working age demographic, and that's putting a huge strain on their economy, massive strain. But we're also like whilst we're like not nowhere near that extreme, the trend is going kind of that way. But that also puts a huge demand on retirement, later living
Yep.
accommodation, which we're not. It's not in the news or anything at the moment, but you will probably see it over the next decade. It'll become more and more and more private, and some of the funds that we've been speaking to are now starting their early stage mandate with investors to create these later living investment funds to go and start ready, buy-in and building thousands of homes purely for rental for the later living market. So that's something that we're quite interested in getting into.
Yeah, I mean, understanding your customer and the business value. So, fun fact for Japan is per day in transactions, there's more adult nappies sold than there are babies nappies,
Wow.
and that just goes to show that if you're a
Wow.
nappy manufacturer and you're not acknowledging the landscape of the market, you might be missing out on most of
Yeah.
it, which is interesting. I've got an idea how we can save the population decline or collapse. We'll do a little snippet of Stuart going, well, if I have 4 kids and it's only 2 hotel rooms, put that everywhere around the world and we'll be all right.
I don't know. You boys are so clued up on the Japanese economic system, boys. I'm quite impressed. All I know is that their GDP is reducing and they're not having any kids. So, I mean, it's a 30-year plan, but they've got some real issues with deflation. So, yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, having a mandate for stagnation, well, it's deflation, isn't it? Because it's not going to sustain. So, but if they've got a mandate now for a dating app, I'm sure there'll be some little Japanese babies popping out.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, they literally just come out. The Prime Minister said, based on Elon Musk's concerns, and Elon Musk he's literally gone around the world and gone, I don't think you realize you need to have more kids because it is the biggest crisis. The problem with the demographic collapse is you can't fix it with policy. You just can't fix it. You have to inspire people of our generation to have more children.
Right, Dorian and myself are doing our piece, mate. When are you going to knock
I
out
know
a few
you're
sprogs?
contributing. Mate, I'll be knocking out 10. Don't you worry.
You're
I'll
doing
be
it for your
knocking out
country,
10.
mate.
Yeah, that's what you want.
Yeah. Well, Elon had a kid with his I think it was a girlfriend's friend without telling her, didn't he? He was a sperm donor. He agreed to be a sperm donor, but he didn't like pass it. And in his mind, he was like, "I'm doing society's duty."
Really?
But like to like in my wife would go nuts.
Yeah, it's a bit nuts. All right, guys, we have time for the quiz. So let's fucking do it.
Oh, the quiz.
Let's do this
The
fucking quiz,
quiz.
Jack.
Let's do it.
Thanks for getting all the way through to episode 8 to give me the opportunity to do this quiz. So this was actually a bit of a brainchild from during lockdown. Our family did a Zoom quiz, like with all our family, and the way that we did it was we picked a topic and we quizzed at each other. And from just doing this quiz, I just found out so much about someone that's prehistoric, and I thought it was all admirable and fairly relevant to property to and business to some degree. So the quiz is on Arthur Guinness. And I thought it'd be fun to just do a live quiz and go around and see what people's answers were. But yeah, I mean, we can obviously talk between the questions because some of them are quite interesting to talk about. So just generally about Arthur Guinness, he's obviously an Irish brewer, entrepreneur, and then later on in life a philanthropist. He was the inventor of the Guinness beer, and he founded the Guinness Brewery at St James's Gate in Dublin in 1759. Guinness is actually the most valuable Irish brand in the world and is valued at 2.51 billion. And is famous for its obviously single drink Guinness, which is now owned by Diageo, which takes 119.5 seconds to pour, which probably could have been a question. And just to sort of scoot over some of the things that...
That's to settle, isn't it? 119 seconds is to settle once you've poured it
No, that's the whole
for
duration.
the hydrogen.
That's the whole duration for it to be poured, settle halfway, and then poured again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've been to the Guinness factory twice, Stu.
Right. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. You're a bit of a pro, mate. I just drink it, or used to drink it. Their Guinness Zero is unbelievable, by the way. If you've not tried it,
I haven't tried that,
that's
but I
great.
will try that
I
actually.
was so hooked on Guinness when I was drinking. I actually drove all the way to. Well, I drove about an hour away to go to a Waitrose that just stocked it the day it come out. I rang about 20 of them because I was so keen on trying their Guinness Zero, and literally done a 2-hour round trip just to get a 4-pack.
Straight to the corner shop.
I like to try things first.
You're like one of those Prime guys, aren't you, Stuart? I bet you was ringing
I did,
around those
literally.
local shops. Are you stocking any Prime? Got any Prime?
I had to go to wanky Waitrose. I'm an M&S buyer, mate. I don't really like Waitrose, but I'll go there if they've got Guinness Zero.
Lovely, cool. So back onto Big Arthur. So just a running through a few things that he did, which I think are admirable, and I will come on to some other things later. But he invented and patented the widget that goes inside the can. He was the first to ever trademark a business in the United Kingdom, which is the harp and his signature. And we was actually talking about trademarking the other day, but anyway, he promised and delivered all UK soldiers a pint of Guinness on Christmas Day. And he was the first company in the United Kingdom to introduce employee benefits, which is pretty cool. So, he's got some huge legacy items. So, I definitely recommend that if this doesn't wet your whistle on Arthur Guinness, go and Google him and read up on him. He's a super interesting bloke. Cool. So, the quiz is 5 questions. 2 are semi-related to property, 2 are family related to him, and then the last one is just a sort of bit of a curveball. I will do multiple choice, I think. Because it'll make it a bit easier. Cool. So, as background, Arthur Guinness negotiated a contract and a lease on a 4-acre site in the centre.
Wait, Jack,
of...
is this how do we answer? Are we shouting out? Or are you going to go around us one by one?
I'll go round one by one. I'll just say, I mean, just shout whatever you think, and we'll try and time it up correctly. Part of his obviously expansion and setting up and scaling his brewery, he negotiated a lease in the centre of Dublin, which was 4 acres, and it's obviously now been coined and changed to St James's Gate, which is where the lease was set. But this is out of 3 multiple choice. How long did he sign the lease for? Was it A, 200 years, B, 1,000 years, or C, 9,000 years? When you got your answer,
C
for Rye.
Yeah, I think I've heard this before. I think it is C, and it was like for quite a cheap price or something, and he's still paying. I think I'm
going to go for C, because I thought it was 10,000 years. So now I'm confused whether it's actually 1,000 or C. So I'm going to throw curveball and just go B.
Nice. What were you, Stu? You were C as well.
Yeah, I think I'm C. Yeah, I think I heard that he negotiate a really cheap price or something, and still pays it.
So it is C. In 1759, he agreed a lease for 9,000 years on the space. Now, the coolest part of it is he managed to negotiate the water supply was completely free for the duration of the lease. So the big kicker there is that one of the biggest materials used in brewery is water. And he was an absolute genius negotiating that completely free indefinitely.
So water was free, but also though the lease was not indexed. Isn't that right? So the price is the price. It was a fixed sum, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm coming on to that. Question number 2.
Sorry.
If the water was free,
But when he took the lease out, do you reckon they knew that they were going to do it as a brewery?
yeah, I think
you'd think if you were using it as a normal business that your water rates would be that much.
I think they did because he came from a brewery to set up his own one, so I think they knew he was going to be a brewer.
Okay.
And he expanded, and when he expanded, he lost that lease, didn't he? Because he went from 4 acres to like 20 acres or some shit.
Yeah, I think he actually bought the site,
and the lease
at that
isn't
point.
in force now.
Yeah. But until that point, if the water was free and the site is 4 acres, what annual rent did he agree in 1759? A, 500 pints of beer, B, 2 horse and carriages, or C, 45 quid?
Well, I was going to C. For the only thing with money in it, C.
I'm gonna wait. Are we? This is what he negotiated at the time in 1750.
At the time in 1759, 500 pints of beer, 2 horses and carriages, or C, 45 quid.
I'm gonna go A. 500 pints of beer.
I would have gone £500 a beer, but I think it's the money. See,
It's 45 quid.
45 quid.
you know what a deal. Index linked, or that's what he's still paying today, or would be paying today.
Yeah, so I think he's bought the freehold.
I'm pretty sure he expanded the site.
Inflation calculator UK. Let's see if we can
I
actually
mean, what
work
was
it out.
£45? What year was this?
That's what I'm looking at now.
Deal makers, 300 years ago. Striking deals.
How much was £45?
£6,747.
Oh, it can't be. It's got to be a lot more than that. It's got to be a lot more than that.
No, $45 in 1759 was worth $1,786.
It's got to be a lot more than that.
That's what I've got it as.
Yeah, no, sorry, I've got 7,300.
1759. The problem is, though, is that it's not necessarily, it's no way. It's like the value, the inflation.
It's not inflation, is it?
We talked about this in a chat about inflation being not necessarily just because £45 is 1,700 is the fact that back then £45 you could have bought probably a building.
I completely agree with that. Like it's like old money, right? What would have been in old money terms? It's not necessarily correct to just devise it by inflation, the rate of inflation.
Yeah, because asset values aren't all the same.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I mean, it will be down into pennies and sixpence if we try and to, relate that to the cost of maybe a beer or something, because that's quite an easy. You just tie it to a price of something at that time. But yeah, I agree with you, Dorian. You could probably bought multiple houses for that value. Oh, actually, I've got inflationary terms. It is about £8,000 below.
That sounds about right.
It's the third question.
But the problem is, though, in 1759, I just checked, you could buy a house for around about £100.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're talking, it's that this is the big issue I have with inflation. Is not only doesn't actually say, just because that monetary figure has increased doesn't mean you can buy the same thing from the purchase, and not only that, it's the quality too. I don't know what actually the standard of the houses were in 1759, but I think they were building in stone at that point. But
also the scarcity of the product.
I mean, have you not? We've got a few property. We've got property that's from the 1400s.
Wow.
And they're buildings.
But you got to think of the scarcity as well, because of deflationary technology. Like a pen when it first came out, pens are pretty expensive. But what's a pen now? But that's because of technology making it easier to produce them. Whereas houses are better to use as like a measure of inflationary effects, because they've always been scarce. We've pretty much always been undersupplied. So, but yeah, I mean, scarcity plays into it.
Okay, I just asked GPT if what was the price of a pint in 1759 of beer? Or I don't think they did pints then, but what was the price of beer? And versus now, and they said 1759 the price of a pint was a penny, right? And the price of an average pint today, I actually don't know what that is, but they said between £4 to £5. Is that about right for those drinkers here?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, therefore, the inflation for that is 29,900%.
I was in Pall Mall yesterday, and I bought myself an alcohol-free beer, and it cost me £5.70 for a bottle. I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Fucking hell, that's just crazy money." But yeah,
when we were in Mipham this year, obviously Ben doesn't drink, and I was tucking into some beers. It was cheaper to have a large Heineken, so like a pint of Heineken, than it was a little Diet Coke.
Jesus.
£9 for a large Heineken, €9 for a large Heineken, €10 for a little Diet Coke, and I was at the other end of the table going like that to Ben, winding him up.
Go on then. What's the next question, Jack?
Cool. So that's enough on the lease stuff, but we have. I'm going to stay in the theme of children, because we talked about sort of population and having children. So and it's quite an interesting part of his life. He was a huge family man, Arthur Guinness. So he was a very devoted goat and devoted to his legacy for his children. So it's question number 3. How many children did Arthur have with his wife, Olivia Whitmore? A, 4, which is 2 hotel rooms. B, 15, or C, 21.
I'm going to go back in those days. They were right at it. So I'm going to go for the max 21. It's probably too much to be honest.
I'll go for 15. 15 is a 30-year. I mean, you got to remember that's one every other year, right? That's 30 years. That poor wife. Can you imagine being pregnant and giving birth to 21 kids? I think 15 is pretty
That was
much.
most of their adult life. Most of their adult life was being
Rusty bucket,
being
mate. That's what
pregnant.
that is.
Yeah. Anyway, the answer is C. So 21 kids. So yeah, I mean, if I don't know how long Olivia lived, but yeah, probably pregnant for most of her life.
Wow, what a devoted husband.
So in those times, again, just from some of the history books I read, it was that was kind of like what was expected and what society and what normality was. But out of those, and I actually don't know these figures. I didn't when I knew what this quiz was going to be. I purposely didn't do any research. This was just from a thing, but I bet you a good portion of those did not live because mortality for children was massive. The amount of loss people suffered on a daily basis was just insane back then versus what we have now.
Wow.
Cool. Ready for the next one? Mortality. Question number 4. How many of their children made it to adulthood ages? I think we've already touched on this. So A is all of them, B is 10 of them, and C is 18 of them.
I'm going to go with A.
It's got to be C.
I reckon B. 10 of them. This is a high mortality rate, but
Oh, no. Sorry, I meant 10 of them. Sorry.
Yeah, so it was 10 of them. And out of the 10, 3 were brewers, 3 died in the same year,
fucking hell.
only living a mere age of 30. So a further 3 died before their 30th. So out of the 10, 7 of them passed 30 years old.
We just could not imagine that in today's world, could we? Like, imagine losing. Even that was actually common back then. It was expected.
That's a 30% mortality rate.
Sorry, 66% mortality rate.
Yeah.
There was 21, right? And there's only 7 that survived after 30.
Sorry, yeah, death rate. Yeah.
2 and 3.
Mm.
Get right, 1759. The average life expectancy in 1759 was, right, around 35 to 40 years.
Nuts.
However, this figure is misleading due to high infant mortality rates. But on average, it was in their 50s. But today, it's like nearly 80.
Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it? Nuts. Got that next question.
Right. This is next and last because I know we've got some hard stop times. So this one's more geographical. So the top 3 consumers of the drink in the world are England, Ireland, and so multiple choice coming up. A, United States of America, B, Nigeria, or C, Wales.
I've got to go. You've instinctively got to go USA because the population is much higher. So
This
USA.
is not per capita. This is obviously just volume.
Still USA.
I'm going to say Nigeria. Curveball.
Yeah, I'm going to say Nigeria. I reckon they love a Guinness.
Love a fucking Guinness in Nigeria, mate.
And super malt. That's a big seller over there, isn't it? So the correct answer is B, Nigeria.
No way. Wow, I'm surprised at that. I'm surprised. Okay.
Why? Why Nigeria?
Right, so stag do, guys.
Nigeria.
I think Rye's the only one that's not married.
Yeah, banging. Nice one.
Go on
Jack.
for a lot longer, but yeah, fun question. And if you haven't read up on Arthur Guinness's legacy, his family, and what they've gone on to do, is a pretty amazing.
We should do a bit of R&D and make Jack's 3rd tour to the Guinness factory. We'll do a one-off special and film it at the Guinness factory. I'll be up for that. Give me the green light with the missus.
If we're going to do that, then we can go to Amsterdam and do a tour of the Heineken one.
Good. We finally got the quiz done.
I'm happy about that. Well done. Nice one, Jack. Someone else should come up with the quiz next. Dorian, you'll be good
Sure,
at that.
we'll do.
Come up with the quiz for us at some point. It's got to be fucking juicy. Fucking juicy.
The Beaumont family history.
Yeah, nice. Well, it won't be long. Actually, no. Do you know what? Beaumont was one of the names in the Battle of Hastings in 1066. One of the French names. There's 100 names that came across on that boat, and Beaumont was one of them. So that's my claim to fame. I want to do one of those trees. What's
William the Conqueror?
Yeah, with William the Conqueror. What's that? What's it called? That company that do it, where you can track back.
Ancestry.
But is that the name of it? It's just called Ancestry, is it?
Ancestry. Yeah.
You send your DNA off to one of them, don't you, mate? And they don't track everyone else's DNA. And
Yeah.
give you a full.
Isn't there a Welsh one called Incestory?
No, that's headquartered in Henley, mate. Sorry.
Well, on that note, it's been a great episode. Nice one.
Well, they did. Members of the Ton did actually, marry one another. So even if they were cousins.
All right, look, thank you everyone at home who's listened to this. Hopefully it's been another good podcast. Slightly different makeup today, but I quite enjoyed it. Bit of a tangent, sort of chat and waffling. But yeah, thank you. Please make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. We release these podcasts every Thursday at 5:30 a.m. on YouTube and Spotify. And please share this podcast with anyone who you think may enjoy it or may be useful for. We very much appreciate it. And that's us for now. And we'll see you in episode 9.
I'm going to do the Christmas tree now.
The Christmas tree.
The Christmas tree of life and death. Big love.
See you later.
Yeah. Bonjour.
Roundup sound. Ooh, yeah. Real estate deal. We lay